What's up, everyone? It's your boy Dom from the Game Looters, and today we're diving into one of the biggest surprises of the year, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. After the wild success of Tears of the Kingdom, I didn't expect Nintendo to drop another banger so soon, but here we are. And get this, Echoes of Wisdom switches things up by putting Zelda in the spotlight. That's right. You're not running around as Link this time. Instead, you're stepping into Zelda's shoes, and it's a breath of fresh air. With the kingdom in chaos, mystery rifts opening up everywhere, and Link nowhere to be found, Zelda's got one heck of a journey ahead of her. From the jump, Echoes of Wisdom grabbed me with this intense opening. Seriously, it's honestly up there with some of the best intros in gaming. The first 15 minutes? Hooked. We've seen some epic games this year in 2024 from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Persona 3 Reload, and Unicorn Overlord, just to name a few. But Echoes of Wisdom definitely makes a case for being a Game of the Year contender. And yeah, that was a surprise to me. So let's break this potential GOTY down. Let's talk about the story and the world. So, the story in the world of Echoes of Wisdom brings some serious heat. Zelda wakes up in prison, confused, and surrounded by enemies. Her once loyal allies have turned against her, and she's left to figure out what in the heck is happening in Hyrule. The kingdom's in shambles, strange rifts are tearing through the land, and to make things worse, Link is missing. Our boy is MIA. The game flips the traditional Zelda formula on its head, putting Zelda in charge of saving the day instead of being the one in need of rescuing, which is the thing we've all wanted forever, or at least I know I did. Hyrule, it feels as alive as ever. Its beautifully vibrant art style that merges nostalgia, the feel of the series, and it just delivers something really fresh. Each area is meticulously crafted, making the world feel both familiar and new. The rifts, they're an ominous, eerie purple goo capturing echoes across the land, and the dynamic between Zelda and the various races of Hyrule add all the layers to the story, pulling you deeper into the mystery of what the hell is going on. The world building is top-notch, and while there are some minor frame pacing issues that I personally didn't notice too much, but they do occur from time to time, overall the dungeons are smooth and stunning, including the world and the game in totality. Now, onto the gameplay. This is where Echoes of Wisdom really shines. The game introduces an echo mechanic. It's honestly one of the best additions to Zelda series in a while. It's hard to explain, but fun to enjoy. Zelda doesn't carry around the usual sword and shield. Instead, she's got her trusty buddy Tri, a little glowing companion who lets her create echoes of objects and enemies. Need to cross a gap? Stack some echoes, stack some beds. That's right, you heard me. Get them pillows out and stack some beds. Do you have a tricky puzzle to solve? Well, use echoes of pots or enemies to solve it. It's a system that rewards creativity and strategic thinking, giving you just enough tools to empower you without being overwhelming. What's super genius about the echo mechanic is that everything is going to cost you, let's call it magic. Let's just say magic. So you can't just go around echoing just everything boom, 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 boom in sight. You've got to think about how and when you're going to use it, and that's kind of how your strategy will flow. Early on, this magic is going to kind of cost and keep things really tight because you're not going to have much of it. But as you level up and as you gain echo power, you're going to start echoing more things over and over, and you're going to be reducing the cost alongside of it, which is going to open up, as you imagine, a ton of gameplay possibilities. The puzzle and Echo of Wisdom are pure fire. They're fuego. They have a perfect balance of challenge and satisfaction. By the time you're finishing one, you're going to feel like, yes, you accomplished something, which is the coolest feeling you can get in a game, I think, right? Sometimes you'll feel like you're breaking the game with your solutions, but it's really just that freedom that is you coming up with different ways to tackle a puzzle what makes it so rewarding. And the fact that if you talk about this with your buddy, you may find out that you two solved the same puzzle completely different, which is so cool and really harkens back to that Breath of the Wild water cooler moment, in my opinion at least. Now the combat. So the combat in Echoes of Wisdom isn't your typical hack and slash fare, which is good. Zelda's not swinging a sword every 5 minutes like Link, though she can transform or go Super Saiyan into a blue, ethereal version of him in specific moments. And if your specific moments are like mine, it's probably because you're pushing the button on accident way too many times. But whatever. The transformation is usually reserved for boss fights or when you're running really low on magic. I just try to save mine up for when I thought I was about to die, to be honest. Regardless, it's completely epic when you make use of it. Most of the time, though, you're going to be using your echoes of enemies and objects to fight your way through Hyrule. And, it is slower paced, but there's a lot more strategy involved, making you use that thinking cap. You got to think multiple steps ahead while you're using Tri's powers and echoes to kind of manipulate and outsmart your enemies. The combat, I do say, is definitely going to be a hot and cold, love it or hate it type deal. The people who hate it are going to really hate it, and the ones that love it, like me, are going to really love it. It's going to throw some people off at first, but it's not fast-paced like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, but honestly, once you do get the hang of it, it is incredibly satisfying when you see things just work out like you imagined. Targeting enemies and using their own abilities against them is also super duper cool, and it's a nice change of pace. And there's always room to experiment with different echo combinations. It's more about playing smart than playing fast and quick. And that shift works well in this really heavy puzzle-heavy environment. Now, transitioning to puzzles, because I mentioned it, right? The game is a puzzle lover's dream. Now, that puzzle lover is not me. I suck at puzzles. They're not my cup of tea. But I'm telling you, this still blew me away. And even I, a puzzle non-enthusiast, a puzzle dummy, was able to have an amazing time and figure things out. The dungeons in Echoes of Wisdom are just on another level. They've dialed it back because, the way the combat flows, they want to make sure that it's more strategy focused. And they've gone all in on the brain teasing, making you use that thinking pack like I was talking about. Put your thinking cap on, really get to it. This is going to hark back to older Zelda formulas, so I think the people who really like games like Link to the Past are going to have a really good time, and those itches are going to get scratched. Echoes of Wisdom brings all of that to the table. The ecosystem ties directly into puzzle solving, so it makes every dungeon feel like its own specific and unique challenge. What makes the puzzle so great is they give you just enough guidance without holding your hand. You have the blueprints, you have the setup, but the beauty of it is you can often come up with your own specific solutions. So if somebody were to use 2 pots, you can use 2 beds, etc., etc. When you're stacking objects, you're going to be using echoed enemies to kind of trigger switches and stuff, or you're going to be able to pull off a solution that totally feels unintended, but it got solved regardless. The game makes you feel like a genius, and it's really, really, really cool. The dungeon design is super tight, and they never overstay their welcome. At least that's the feeling that I got. I felt like by the time that I was done with it, it was already done, or it was in my past. Regardless, you're going to feel really accomplished, and that is a top-tier feeling. Now, the visuals, okay? I talked about the performance a little earlier. I kind of touched on it, but the visuals. Visually, Echoes of Wisdom, it's a stunner. It is a beautiful game. The art style is reminiscent of, I would call it claymation, giving it a distinct look to previous Zelda games, but making it its own. It's vibrant, it's colorful, and Hyrule has never felt more alive. Whether you're in the sun-soaked overworld or you're deep in a dark, ominous dungeon, every area is packed with a ton of detail. Performance-wise, the game is mostly smooth. There are some frame pacing issues here and there, and it depends on how sensitive you are to them. But luckily, these hiccups, they do not affect the dungeon experience or the game. Everything ran perfectly fine to me. Again, for me, I play on the OLED Switch 50% of the time, 50% of the time on my LG TV, and really, I had no problems. The soundtrack, I mean, as you can expect, Nintendo, they knock it out the park every time. This soundtrack is straight fire. It's fuego. Every area, every puzzle, every moment of tension is backed by an amazing score that just elevates the entire experience. The audio design is whimsical, it's awesome, and it's impressive. From the sounds of echoing objects to the ambient noises of Hyrule, and while the game could have used maybe a bit of voice acting, it is what it is. Zelda does end up staying silent the whole time, but overall here, it was just a solid experience. The lack of dialogue doesn't really, I mean, it's to be expected, but it does leave you maybe wanting more in the character department, but it's not going to really take away from anything. It doesn't detract from too much, and the overall experience and soundtrack is still top notch, 9 out of 10, easy. All right, final thoughts. Let's bring it home. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is a masterpiece. Honestly, it truly is. And I have given that word away a lot this year, but this time I'm being 100% serious. It really is. It takes everything we love about Zelda and gives it a fresh twist by putting Zelda herself in the spotlight, which is one of the things I've always wanted. The ecosystem, it's a brilliant addition and it's so unique. It opens up a ton of ways to solve puzzles and to fight enemies. The game's focus on creativity and strategy makes it stand out from the other titles in the series. It is just unlike anything else. The slower combat and heavy emphasis on puzzle solving, like I said, it might not be for everyone. But if you're a fan of classic dungeon crawling and smart strategic gameplay, this is a must-own, must-play. Nintendo knocked it out of the park with this one. I am giving Echoes of Wisdom a well-deserved 10 out of 10. It's not just one of the best Zelda games, it's one of the best games I've played this year. If you haven't picked it up yet, you definitely need to hit pre-order, or you definitely need to get that to you today. Head to GameStop, head to Best Buy, head to the eShop, and grab this one. You're going to need to dive into this incredible adventure, and when you do, you're going to get ready for a game that'll stick with you a long time after the credits roll. That's a wrap, my friends, on today's review. If you enjoyed the review, if this was useful to you, don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment. Please, drop a comment. Run me through, be like, Dom, I didn't agree with anything you said. Give me some comments down below, even if they're negative. Just hit me with it, please. Subscribe to the channel for more gaming content. I've been Dom. It's been a pleasure to serve you today. I've been from the Game Looters, and I'll catch you on the next one, my friends. Peace.